Today I want to talk about how I just made $8,000 in one single day. Not by day trading and not by timing the perfect entry into the market. And today we'll look at Amazon because this is a perfect example of how this works. If you're wondering whether you should get into the stock market, if you're wondering whether you should start investing, just have a look at this chart. This is a 1-year chart for the Amazon stock. The dates are down at the bottom and the stock price is along the right hand side. And over a 3-day period, the Amazon stock had a 25% gain. The share price rose by 25% in just 3 short days. And it made back everything that it had lost since its highs back in May 2026. So how does an everyday person like you and me know that the share price is going to do this? The truth is we don't. But looking back in all history of the stock market and looking at all of the huge successful businesses out there, and we all know Amazon is a big successful company, and looking at this chart, you know who's making money? Amazon shareholders. You know who's not making money? Amazon customers. And Amazon sellers, but that's a discussion for another day. Today I want to show you exactly how I use the method that we teach here at Mindshift Theory to dollar cost average in a very small, conservative way, never risking everything that I have, and how that eventually led to me winning. And it started 3 months ago, back in May 2026, when I saw at the time that Amazon was hitting all-time highs. And one of the first lessons that we teach here at Mindshift Theory is not to start buying at all-time highs. It's to wait for a pullback. And that's what I did. My first purchase was in the middle of May at about $264 per share, when the stock had pulled back from its all-time highs and was hitting a possible resistance point. Knowing how to look for support and resistance levels is another important lesson that we teach. So I made my first purchase in the middle of May 2026. But again, I didn't bet the whole house. I went in with a very, very, very small amount of shares, knowing that if the stock price dropped further, I still had the cash available to purchase more. And what happened? It did actually drop down further. Within a week, the price was at $260. And this is when I made another small purchase. And as we moved to the beginning of June, Amazon's stock price went back up to above $270. But it did not make a new high. It started coming down. And when the stock price reached my very first buy price, I could have sold the shares that I'd purchased here, but because there were a very small number of shares, I decided to hold. But a smart option would absolutely be to sell your shares that you own at this price and have the capital to purchase more should it drop further. And this is the point where you can make a decision, right? Because nobody knows if the stock price is going to move up from here or if the stock price is going to come down. So a decision you may make is to sell the shares that you own at this price. But I didn't, and the stock price dropped even further. And by early June, it was hitting a resistance level over here at 250. And so I purchased again. So at this point, I owned 3 very small lots of Amazon shares, but they were all underwater. And this is the point where you need to be brave. But not because you've made reckless decisions, because you've made very small calculated purchases on a huge global stock that you believe in, whether you like Amazon or not. This is a company that is so diversified and has a fantastic track record, and I believe is not going to go bust and is going to stick around for the long future. So being brave in the scenario wasn't hard because I still had spare cash, I still had spare capital. And when Amazon hit another resistance level over here, I purchased again, another small amount of shares. So the main question I needed to consider right at the very beginning of my purchases was, am I comfortable holding Amazon at $265 per share? And if the stock price drops 20, 30, 40, even 50%, am I comfortable purchasing more, and do I have the capital to make that additional purchase in order to have a lower average cost for my total shares? So here, mid-June 2026, I was hoping the drop was over, but it wasn't. The price of the Amazon shares kept dropping. And when it reached this next possible resistance point over here, I purchased again. And at this point, Amazon price started increasing. And I had more confluence about the direction. In other words, I had more signals that gave me the confidence that the stock price was going up. And one of them was the volume bar. And volume is another important concept we teach at Mindshift Theory. But getting back to my shares, I had 5 different lots, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of Amazon, and my overall P&L was still negative. So what I did in the middle of July, when the Amazon stock price hit this same resistance point over here, I sold the shares that I'd owned at 250. So I made a very, very small profit on those shares, but I freed up some capital for myself. And just when everyone thought Amazon's price is going to the moon, it bazingaed us again, shocked us again, and dropped all the way from 250 back down to the 227 mark. So what did I do? I took the money and the profits from the shares that I'd sold at 250 and I purchased more Amazon shares at 227. And this point is quite scary, right? Because your entire P&L is negative and the Amazon stock price could drop down. It could drop down to this level over here. It could drop down even further. So at every step of the way, you need to make sure that you are still able to dollar cost average. You are still able to purchase more shares should that stock price drop further. And this may seem like it's gambling, right? But the stock market has proven over and over and over again that those in power and those that have money know how to make money. And so what I do and what I teach at Mindshift Theory is how to follow that movement of money. Always with the understanding that I'm not risking the whole house. I'm making very, very small purchases in a business and business model that I believe in. And sometimes, like Amazon, whether I like the company or not, this is absolutely a business model that I believe in. And this is what's literally just happened. Within 3 days, the stock price shot all the way back up to $283 a share. And what I did here was I sold the shares that I bought for $265 and I sold the shares that I bought for $260. Now I only own the shares at about $240 and $227. And I've freed up cash, I've freed up capital for the chance that this stock or another stock drops way down below my buy price and I'm confident to make another purchase. And so this is an example to show you how a normal everyday person invests in the stock market, learns how to dollar cost average in a safe way in a company that they believe in. Now Amazon doesn't do this, but an even safer option would be to purchase dividend paying companies, so that even as the stock price is dropping, you're still receiving some form of dividends from the company that you own. And so far I've spoken about 2 parts of the wealth triangle method that we teach at Mindshift Theory. I've spoken about dollar cost averaging in the smart way to take advantage of appreciation. I've spoken about dividends. And the last part of the wealth triangle method that we teach here at Mindshift Theory is options trading. And that's when you take the shares that you own at a low price and you start renting them out for $285 or $300 per share and make additional income off the shares that you already own. And so that regardless of whether the stock price goes up or goes down, you're winning both ways. Hopefully this doesn't seem too complicated. Don't get me wrong, there is a lot to know and a lot to understand, and this is not a stage that you get to within just a few months. But if you're serious about taking advantage of the vehicle that creates millionaires every single year, and if you believe that you can learn how to do this and want to learn how to do it wisely and safely, then join us in the Wealth Circle or join my quarterly cohorts where I teach women how to invest in the stock market.